Every year, millions of people wake up before sunrise, work overtime, chase promotions, and do everything they've been told will make them wealthy. They believe that if they just work a little harder, earn a little more, and save a little extra, they'll eventually become rich. But something strange keeps happening. Despite all that effort, most people never build real wealth. Meanwhile, there are people whose money seems to grow almost effortlessly. They don't appear to work longer hours. They don't seem stressed about every paycheck. In fact, some of them make more money while they're sleeping than the average worker earns in an entire year. So what's really going on? Is it luck? Is it privilege? Or is there a financial rule hiding in plain sight that most people never notice? Because once you understand that rule, you'll realize something surprising. The rich don't keep getting richer simply because they have more money. They keep getting richer because they understand how money actually works. And by the end of this video, you'll see why the biggest difference between the rich and everyone else isn't income. It's the game they're playing. Here's a question that almost nobody asks. If earning a high salary automatically made people rich, then every doctor, lawyer, engineer, athlete, or corporate executive would eventually become a millionaire. But that's not what happens. Every year, there are people making well over 6 figures who are still living paycheck to paycheck. At the same time, there are business owners, long-term investors, and ordinary people with much lower salaries, quietly building enormous wealth. That tells us something important. Income and wealth are not the same thing. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep, what you own, and what continues growing even when you're not working. That's why 2 people can earn exactly the same amount of money for 10 years and still end up living completely different financial lives. One spends nearly everything they earn because every raise becomes a bigger lifestyle. The other slowly buys assets that continue increasing in value year after year. At first, the difference looks tiny, but over time, that small gap becomes impossible to ignore. And that leads us to the first rule that almost every wealthy person understands. The first rule is simple, but it completely changes the way you think about money. Most people spend their lives working for money. Rich people spend their lives making money work for them. At first, those 2 ideas sound almost identical, but they lead to completely different outcomes. Imagine 2 friends who both earn $80,000 a year. Every month, they receive the same paycheck. The first person uses every raise to upgrade their lifestyle. They move into a bigger apartment, buy a newer car, eat at better restaurants, and slowly increase their monthly expenses. From the outside, they look successful. Their life becomes more expensive every year. The second person lives differently. Instead of upgrading their lifestyle, they upgrade their assets. Every extra dollar goes into index funds, businesses, real estate, or investments that can produce more money in the future. 5 years later, both people still earn similar salaries, but one has built a portfolio that's quietly generating income on its own. That's the moment everything changes. Because from that point forward, they're no longer relying on one source of income. They have an employee that never sleeps, never gets tired, and never asks for a vacation. That employee is called capital, and once you own enough of it, every year becomes easier than the last. This is exactly why the rich seem to get richer faster over time. It's not because they're suddenly working twice as hard. It's because every dollar they already own starts producing more dollars. Think of it like planting a tree. During the first few years, nothing exciting seems to happen. You water it, protect it, and wait. Day after day, it looks almost the same. If you judged your progress every week, you'd probably think the tree wasn't growing at all. But underground, the roots are spreading deeper and stronger. Then one day, the tree begins growing faster than you expected. Year after year, it becomes larger, stronger, and produces more fruit, with less effort from you. Wealth behaves in almost the same way. The beginning feels painfully slow because you're doing all the work yourself. Every dollar comes from your own time and effort. But once you've built enough assets, those assets begin producing returns, dividends, rental income, and appreciation. Suddenly, you're no longer the only one creating wealth. Your money joins the process. That's why many wealthy people become dramatically richer in their 40s and 50s, not because they suddenly discovered a secret, but because they spent decades building the roots that everyone else ignored. But if building wealth is really this simple, then why doesn't everyone do it? The answer has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with human psychology. Our brains are wired to choose rewards we can enjoy today instead of rewards that might arrive 10 years from now. Imagine you're given two choices. You can spend $5,000 on the vacation you've always dreamed about, or you can invest that same money and leave it untouched for the next 20 years. Almost everyone understands which option is financially smarter, yet millions still choose the vacation. Why? Because the vacation gives you an immediate emotional reward. You can see it, feel it, and post pictures of it today. Investing gives you almost nothing to celebrate in the present. It asks you to sacrifice now for a future version of yourself that you haven't even met yet. Wealthy people aren't born with magical discipline. They've simply trained themselves to delay gratification. They understand that every dollar spent today isn't just a dollar gone. It's also the future growth that dollar could have created. Over decades, those invisible opportunities become worth far more than the original purchase itself. That's why the rich often appear patient, while everyone else is chasing instant results. There's another reason rich people keep getting richer, and it's something most people never notice because it happens quietly. As your wealth grows, your opportunities grow with it. Think about someone who has just $2,000 in savings. If an incredible investment opportunity appears tomorrow, they probably can't take advantage of it because every dollar they own is already needed for rent, groceries, emergencies, or monthly bills. Now compare that to someone with $2 million in assets. When the same opportunity appears, they don't need to panic or borrow money. They already have capital ready to move. This is one of the greatest advantages wealth creates. It gives you options. During economic crashes, most people are forced to sell because they need cash. Wealthy investors often do the opposite. They buy quality assets at lower prices because they planned years in advance for moments exactly like these. What looks like luck from the outside is usually preparation that nobody saw. The rich aren't simply making better decisions in the moment. They've spent years putting themselves in a position where they can act, while everyone else is forced to wait. There's a saying on Wall Street that most people hear, but never truly understand. The first million is the hardest. It sounds like motivational nonsense until you look at the numbers. Imagine you have only $10,000 invested. Even if your portfolio grows by an impressive 10% in a year, you've made just $1,000. That's encouraging, but it won't change your life. Now, imagine someone with $1 million invested. That exact same 10% return produces $100,000 in a single year. Both investors earned the same percentage. Neither one was smarter. Neither one found a secret investment. The only difference was the amount of capital already working for them. This is the point where wealth begins to accelerate. Every dollar you've built starts helping you create the next dollar. That's why the journey feels unfair from the outside. In reality, it isn't magic, it's momentum. The rich don't always earn better returns. They simply have more money generating those returns. And once you reach that stage, your investments begin contributing more to your wealth than your monthly paycheck ever could. That's when you stop relying entirely on your job and start relying on your assets. But perhaps the biggest mistake people make is confusing looking rich with being rich. In today's world, it's incredibly easy to create the appearance of wealth. A luxury car can be financed, Designer clothes can be bought on credit. Expensive vacations can be paid for with borrowed money. Social media makes it look as if everyone is living an extraordinary life, but appearances rarely tell the full story. Real wealth is much quieter. It doesn't always come with flashy cars or giant mansions. Sometimes it looks like an ordinary person driving an older vehicle, living below their means, and investing consistently for 20 years. That person may not attract attention today, but they are quietly buying something far more valuable than status. They're buying freedom, freedom from financial stress, freedom to choose where they work, freedom to spend time with family, freedom to retire on their own terms. That's the difference between people who spend money to impress others and people who use money to build a life they don't need to escape from. By this point, you might be thinking, so do rich people never spend money? Not at all. They enjoy nice homes, luxury cars, and incredible vacations just like anyone else. The difference is when they choose to enjoy those things. Most people reward themselves first and invest whatever is left over. Wealthy people usually reverse that order. They invest first, allow their assets to grow, and only then spend from the wealth those assets create. It's a subtle shift, but it completely changes the outcome. Think of it this way. If you own a fruit tree, you don't cut it down every time you want to eat. You let the tree keep growing and enjoy the fruit it produces year after year. Rich people think the same way about their money. They protect the asset because they know the asset will continue producing income long into the future. That's why their wealth keeps expanding even while they're enjoying life. They're spending the fruit, not destroying the tree. In the end, the reason rich people keep getting richer has very little to do with luck and almost nothing to do with working harder than everyone else. The real difference is that they understand a principle most people never learn. They don't chase money. They build systems that create it. They buy assets instead of liabilities. They think in decades instead of months. They value ownership over appearances. And they let time do the heavy lifting that effort alone never could. The truth is, wealth doesn't suddenly appear after one brilliant decision. It's built through hundreds of ordinary decisions that almost nobody notices. A dollar invested instead of spent. A raise invested instead of celebrated. A business started instead of endlessly postponed. None of those choices look extraordinary on the day you make them. But years later, they become the reason one person is still trading time for money, while another has money working for them every single day. So the next time you wonder why the rich keep getting richer, don't ask how much they earn. Ask what they own. Because income might pay for your lifestyle, but ownership is what builds your future. And once you understand that difference, you'll never look at money the same way again.